Our guest today for AM Talk is legal practitioner Victor Kojogan Adawudu. And thanks for joining me, Victor.
It's a pleasure.
Okay. And we quickly would want to go through some topical issues this morning. But let's quickly look at speculations about Akoto Ampaw being appointed as a special prosecutor. I mean, it's just speculative, though. But a special prosecutor and what the MPP said its role is going to be, or his or her role is going to be, and appointing somebody to be in that position. What are the merits and demerits from your perspective as a professional lawyer?
Well, for me, I think that by all standards, when it comes to the legal profession, if Akoto Ampaw is appointed to any position, he merits it, he deserves it, he's qualified to do it. But we've not been told what is the nature, how the terms of reference is going to be about the special prosecutor, the office itself, the legal basis that it's going to have, or it's going to be a delegation from the Attorney General to him. That would have been, for Akoto Ampaw, he's fair-minded and others. The only little challenge people may see about Akoto Ampaw is that he's been with the president in the same chamber, they've been in the same party, the same, how do you now go to prosecute people? Even, let's say, some of his juniors who had also worked in the same chamber, who had and others who have gone untoward, let's say they've gone untoward or had some infractions upon the law. How do you prosecute them? That's the difficulty for me, I think you may have. But all standards, I think he's qualified. Everybody knows him. Everybody knows his practice. He makes forceful arguments. So let's wait and see what the terms and reference, what will be the nature of the concept when it is well developed. Then we would see, I think, from there. But I would say, if it comes to legal practice, I said, he's my senior. There are people, once in a while, you call them little issues. You rub your ideas with them as to how it is done. And I have that respect for him as a professional.
I guess the whole idea of having an office for the special prosecutor is to ensure that there's somebody who is an ombudsman. Is that the whole idea? Somebody who is independent and is somebody who cracks a whip?
No, not really. If I guess from what we read from the manifesto about the special prosecutor, it's somebody who should be put there. He's independent, somebody who has an independent tenure of office. Whether this government or the next government comes, whether this government remains in power or next government comes, he has a fixed tenure of office. He doesn't care whose ox is God. He will do his job. When there are issues with corruption, that's when I read the manifesto, that's the impression I get. He will be there. So I believe that they are doing forensics. This government is good with forensic audits. They will do the forensics where they think that there have been issues that have been raised dealing with corruption and others, then that is given to the special prosecutor to prosecute. Those are the things that I understand the concept. That's why I'm saying that when we get a legal basis, it will tell us what he has to do, what is his tenure of office, how his remuneration, and how people will be appointed to that office so that they will be professionals, they will be independent. That's the kind of thing. Now, it takes me back to, remember those days we used to have something they called the tribunals, regional tribunals.
Yes, we did.
Now, it was the same government that abolished them during the Kufuor era. And they said, no, let's have the high courts. The tribunals, the regional tribunals and others were created so that only jurisdiction they had was to do with public finance, public interested issues. So when it comes to tax, corruption, issues that deals with the public. Unlike the high courts, when we have individual, private citizens issues could be heard. they were only dealing with that. But when they came, they said, no, we think the regional tribunal is not working, so we think we should have only one high court that would deal with all the issues. I think I see a resemblance of what they are trying to do to be there. Although this is going to be a prosecutor, that was a high court. So the person who presided over was also a qualified judge, just the same as the high court. Remember the famous case, Avalifo and Yebi, you know, because it was seen as a public interested issue, so it was taken to the tribunal. So these are the things. So I think we have to exercise some restraint. Let's wait and see how the concept is explained, it unfolds, then we'll see who will be there so that we can give you the needed assistance. Corruption has become an issue. Whether it's reality or it's real, we will definitely get to know. And I believe that it will be good for this society where sometimes people are mudslinging, and others, they say you are corrupt. In the final analysis, it shows that it has never been like that. But you know, when people start singing and say somebody is corrupt, that's where, you know, people find it difficult. That give me the evidence. It's a perception, and perception works everywhere. So I think we have to go slowly. Let's see what the special prosecutor's office will be, what will be their terms, who will mount it, that all of us as citizens will repose some confidence in such a person, that the person should be able to do it. For me, I believe somebody who has to head or be put there should be professionals, that all the sides, even within their profession, the legal profession, should command some kind of respect. Even within the bench, the judges will know the person who is being put there commands some kind of respect. I always like one quoting of Alajete of blessed memory when he was the speaker. He said, you cannot say I should not be partial because where I'm coming from, I'll be impartial. I'll be partial, but I can be very objective and fair. You know, so for me, if you know where you are coming from, but if you are objective, that's the key word, objective and fair. I think if it commands the respect of the populace and the profession, that would be good.
There's been a big shakeup in the police service. We know recently we've had the appointment of a new IGP, David Asante Apieto, and following that, just like what usually is the norm, a big man comes to the top and they try to shuffle people around positions. What do you make of some of the new reshuffling that has taken place within the setup of the Ghana Police Service hierarchy?
I believe the police service, they know each other very well. They have moved through the ranks to the top. And every IGP that comes knows the people he can work with very well, know the people who he can put at sensitive positions. You know, so every IGP has his own strategy, how to deal with crime, how to deal with policies from it. So they are giving that largesse, I think, the discretion as to what is done. But how effective it becomes for the populace to see and have some confidence in it. I think he's done it. He's been the CID boss before. He's gone through the ranks. He knows what and what has to be done, especially with the regional commanders. I think he's done some shake-up moves. Some people have been brought to the administration headquarters who will give him some assistance as to. He has been with the director of ICT before he was elevated to this. He's brought some people in. So we pray that he has the strength, the wisdom. It's not easy to deal with institutions like this, especially when we have a history where the politics has also influenced some of this appointment and shake-up. I think that's what the president has told him. Let it be a professional institution, that everywhere anybody is sent, he's happy, he delivers, so that nobody becomes like, let's pull him down, he should not succeed. I don't think that should be right. We help him, he succeeds, and we live in peace.
Now, we know this is coming on the back of coming from his office, also warning to various institutions and individuals not to put the law into their own hands or take the law into their own hands and go around seizing people's property or items belonging to people perceived to be on the other side of the political divide.
I think we've gone past that. I think the rhetorics or the talks, we've gone past that. People want to see action. Crack the whip. Go in for the people you think they are doing wrong. There is infraction. When you say it, you are seen to be inactive. Your omissions are something that causes alarm within the people. And you know the people who are doing this. You move in. You move in, you crack the whip, and let the people know that what we are doing, it might not be the right thing. It might be in their mistaken belief that they are doing something right. When you, who has been given the mandate to protect life and property, you just don't sit down and jump on the roof of top of the roof and be saying, don't do this, this is wrong. Let the people know that it is wrong. We will arrest you if you do this. I think that is where we've gotten to. It has happened many times. The undertone is that people are also scared because of the nature of politics that we've had, that if we go in and other governments come in, it becomes a payback time. You know, I don't think it augurs well for this nation. I believe that when Professor Mill of blessed memory, when he put his feet down, he had a lot of opposition from even within the party that, look, let's go for people who we believe that they have done wrong. He said, let's clean the slates, let's have peace, let's move on. So I was a little bit surprised that we have a recurrence of this when a good 10, that one that we started, we agreed that, look, it must start from a point. We have seen this again. I think it will be very difficult when a new government comes to convince the people that, no, let's start from a new, they will not agree. The rank and file would say, no, it's been done to us. It is our time to pay back. And if we rule the nation, we go that way. I don't think it will be the best.
So let's say, hypothetically, the NDC comes back in another term of its time, having been elected into office. It will suffice to say there could be retaliations. Because
I won't be surprised. I'll be very honest with you. I won't be surprised.
Why did we have the incidents in 2009 then? Was it as a result of what happened in post-2000?
Post-2000, what happened in post-2000?
It was a replica of what happened.
It was a replica of what happened. And I think that the president at the time, when the thing started, and even pursuing your political opponents for other reasons, he felt that no, the nation should not be run this way. So I believe that that should have been the stage at which we said, look, it is wrong.
That's post 2008.
Yeah, 2008, 2009. So I was believing this could have been managed very well. It would have been managed very well, but I don't think it's been managed. And, you know, people would have that bitterness in them. They will harbor it and wait and say, look, we know our time will come. And when our time comes, we want to avenge. I think it has to do with education. It has to do with this administration to be able to put the nation together. We live in a polarized society now. You can say there is nothing, but I'll be honest that it is polarized. You look at regions, you look at tribes, let's harmonize it and put it together. We are the same people. Let's move on. Let's leave what had happened. Never again should these things happen. I've always been saying something. When I go to the Volta region, especially, that's where I come from, and I meet my NDC and NPP colleagues, I always tell them that, look, it's just like a plate of food we are sharing. And you think that it is so small for us. And our brothers and siblings say, oh, let's go to the other people and also have a share. So they moved to another party to have a share. We are the same people, because when we come to Accra or anywhere, we go back to our villages. When we see developments, it's neither NDC development or MPP development. It is development and work for our people. So we should stop this bickering and say, this man belongs to the umbrella, this man belongs to the elephant. It is about us. We went to the same school, we are friends. If somebody disagrees with you, find a way. You disagree with me, but how can we move on? For me, that's what I've always been saying. And I've been telling them, how do we move our region forward? So it is for the government to say, how do we move this nation forward? We know these are sentiments you have against us. You harbor against us. This is the sentiment. How do we go on? We will not do that. Let the past go. Let's leave the past and move ahead. I think that should be something that we should be looking at.
Embedded in the narratives all along, especially pertaining to this subject, is the fact that you keep hearing mentions of a transition law which was supposed to have kept some of these incidences. Really, was it supposed to have been a panacea to some of these developments? Eruptions and perhaps emotional turmoils and leading to upheavals and seizures from party apparatchiks?
No, I believe that when it started from the time when President Rawlings at that time appointed some other MPs and said they were continuing with their office, and J.H. Mensah had to go to court. And the Supreme Court said that when the president appoints you, when the tenure comes to an end, then that means you, that appointee, your tenure is also ended. So it goes with the president. Now, those were the things that we were seeing. So it was the ministers, the deputy ministers, and others. Now, I think what the transitional provision has done is to extend it to people who have been appointed and they are on statutory boards. That's what the transitional. But if you look at, that's why that case is even in court, that if you look at the transitional provision, the section 14, it is inconsistent with the Constitution. That is why carefully, if you watch, what is happening now is where we have constitutional bodies that people have been even appointed there, they are a little bit careful to tinker with that. Like the Land Commission is a constitutional body created by the Constitution. We have the National NDPC, Development Planning Commission. This is a constitutional body. So the constitutional bodies that have fixed tenure of their office and the statute. And I think this is one of the cases that I think it will be tested. If that is it, let it be so. I've always been one of the advocates when people say the winner takes all, it's not good for us. I always disagree. For me personally, I disagree. Listen, if the winner takes all, let everybody understand, every party understand that when we come, the realm of power is given to us. We are going to govern. This is the way we are going to govern. So that it doesn't become like, oh, we are all going to enjoy it together. We know we will work hard. You go in there, you work. That's why I believe that Pieni at that time said, if you have your contractors, have your professionals, have all that you need to govern. So that when the next party also comes, if that is how we want it to be, let them also come and occupy the positions and govern. I think that would solve some of this problem.
What if the government doesn't leave power for 3, 4, 5 terms?
So be it. So be it. So you now do a constructive criticism. There are alternatives to policies. There will be alternatives that the party that will be in opposition will now have very alternative programs, that this is what we want to do. So when you are in government, there is fire under your buttocks that we need to deliver. This is what we have promised. For me, I think that would make this nation move ahead. if we say, oh, let's share it, take this one, let me take this one. It's like scratch my back, I scratch your back. Who watches the other? Who watches the other? We need to watch and say, look, I'm watching you. You said this, deliver. If you don't deliver, I'll let the people take you out and put me there so that I will be able to deliver. It is something that the debates we need to look at. Well, but if all of us, then we'll go back to the issue of chronism, nepotism. We've been to the same school. Oh, okay, take this position. Let this man take this. We're in the same profession.
We live in the same neighborhood.
But if we know that this party, and if also don't forget that every political party produces the leadership for the state. That is one of the main objectives for political parties. What do they want to do? Provide leadership for the state. So the party must prepare itself and develop its own leadership, develop its people. When we come, this is what we are coming to do. This is the kind of leadership we want to give. It's not like, oh, we would struggle so that let's be coalition, then you give us this, we also this. How many coalitions have you ever seen working and has worked effectively?
Harmoniously.
Harmoniously. There is always confusion.
There's always friction. You just have to ask Israel. Israel.
Even in Zimbabwe, they tried in Zimbabwe.
ZANU-PF and then
ZANU-PF and Shanghai.
Yeah.
It never worked.
Okay. So over the last 12 hours, we've had the approval of Otiko Afisa-Jaba, who is the minister now of gender and children and social protection. But we also know that he is the women's organizer for the New Patriotic Party. But before her approval, the appointment committee, especially the minority cell appointment committee, had raised key questions about her not having gone through national service and perhaps also problems they had sectionally with words she used during the campaign against the former president, John Dramani Mahama.
For me, it's the words that she used for the President John Mahama. Let us not forget that President John Mahama is her cousin. It's her cousin. And if she believes in her own conviction that what she said was right and within the family setting and the more that is acceptable, Ghanaians would.
Okay, so let's get those interactions that took place between Otiko Afisa-Jaba when she appeared before the Appointment Committee of Parliament. And we know notably questions were raised about some of the words she used during the campaign, more importantly about some of the things that were said on heated campaign platforms and whether those could be taken critically and whether she also needed to apologize for some of the words she used. And she said no, she didn't need to apologize. But ultimately, we had questions being raised about whether if you didn't do national service, you could be approved to be taking the position as minister. And we have Dr. Edward Brenya, who is a political scientist with the Political Science Department of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. A very good morning to you, Dr. Brenya.
Good morning.
Now, particularly on the subject of the now gender minister, or the women's minister, so to speak, Otiko Afisa-Jaba, what do you make of her case? Now that she's been approved and ultimately she's now the minister, what example does it set as a country where we have somebody who hasn't gone through national service but still has been approved as minister?
Good morning once again to the able listeners. And when it comes to the question, I think that a lot of things are going on that sometimes we allow partisan politics to overlook the precedents that we set. I must indicate clearly that the National Service Law does not in any way stipulate when one has to do a national service, but it's become a convention that once you complete the work and you intend in working in the public service, I say public service because many a time those in the private sector might ignore that. But the standard or the convention setup is that you do the service to the country that aided you to acquire education as a way of giving back. And that is a requirement, that is a law. When we have individuals who are supposed to implement this law, decide that in the name of party politics, in the name of politicking, they would actually ignore this law, it is certainly a very bad precedent. And to me, it has raised a big dent in a nice resolve for the rule of law, because you would have expected that, in as much as it's not a compulsion that he does it before, at the time she completed school, I was expecting that he's going to this office where he's going to serve an example for others, especially the young ones to follow, that we would have required that this individual, it's a year, Nana has 4 years, if Nana is really interested in giving a ministerial position, would have required that she does that, and then afterwards, actually take on the position. And that would have clearly sent a message to anyone that if you don't do it, there'll be a time that you get penalized. But if in the name of politics, we could allow someone and start to make excuses and argument that, well, that the law doesn't state exactly when you should do it, and therefore we could approve her on majority, I think it's very unfortunate for Ghana, and it does set a very bad precedent. For now, people are doing it because it is the kind of alternative for not having jobs. There will be a time that students will have the chance to actually take up a job or do the national service. That is where we may come to regret some of the decisions that we are taking today. I think it's very unfortunate.
But at the end of the day, it's also because if you're a minister, you're almost like serving your country, aren't you?
Well, we can make that argument. In whatever position that you take up a job, you're serving the country. In whatever position, whether you are working the private service, the public service, it's service to the country. But the national service, let's look at the quantum of individuals who are doing service, who are being paid the national service allowance. Let's, for one sake, if all this one were getting employed by the government, and the government has to pay them their requisite amount of salary, let's take how much the wage bill would have been spent. Now, with the embargo on employment, many jobs have been done by this national service personnel. This is the difference. So yes, a minister may decide to forgo all her salary, may decide to forgo all her allowances and do it. At that point, people are not looking at the minister performing that kind of national service that we are talking about. So that is the difference.
Please be on the line for me. And I have lawyer Victor Kojogan Adawudu in the studio. What do you make of the political scientists just calling a spade and thinking that it's sort of set a negative precedent for the future?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a bad precedent. And I think that I'm a little bit disappointed, not because she has been approved, but because of the nature of the party, the NPP, which pride itself to be the apostles of rule of law. And these are the same people, they see the letter and the spirit of the law, and they think that we can throw it away and now allow the politics to take precedence over the law. That's my disappointment. And, you know, there's a way things can be done. In my moments, when I sit down and look at it, that this law, this is the law that has been made, national service, that you should do national service. Even when you're 40, you are exempted. I was surprised when I even heard yesterday, the defense minister said the acting national service director has given her exemption. When there's a board which has to do it, the board is non-existent. And, you know, there are a lot of lawyers within the NPP who knows this. But for political reasons and others, it is convenient. And I was surprised when the majority leader says that it's a bad law. And that bad law, if you know, that's parliament. You are heading parliament. If you know it's a bad law, scrap it. And scrap the national service that we can't do it. Not even a judge can give you an exemption from an act of parliament when the law says this should be done. You cannot even give any excuse. No judge is expected to even give excuse. You are either to obey the law, or if you don't obey the law, then sanctions are applied. Now, if we decide, we are saying that that is a bad piece of law, and this. So can I now, the citizens also go and we say that we think what the judge is saying is wrong law, so we will not obey it, what would have happened? If you think that the National Service Law, the law says even 2 years. The reasons why I know it's not being implemented the 2 years is the budget, because it has financial implications. That's why they've stuck to the 1 year. I drew the attention that it is 2 years. What is even the purpose of national service? The reasons why national service should be done. I think these are things that have to be done. It brings about the reorientation, knowing the value of your nation, the services that have to be rendered. It makes you even independent. For me, I think that it's been bad. And it's, for me, unfortunate thing is that she's starting on a wrong footing. It will go with her as questionable. And people would, at least see that it's not being a consensus. And I won't be surprised if this ends up in court, which would have now to put some restraint on her not to exercise her position as a minister until she's cleared.
Now, Dr. Brenya, we have to let you go, but this question to you. What if I'm a struggling cocoa farmer? Or, for example, I grew up in a shaman, and so it's difficult sometimes to go through the drudgeries of education and going up the ladder. So I have to go do some odd jobs and not go through mainstream tertiary education. And later in life, I get to go through some tertiary education. At the time, I'm too old, or perhaps not having done national service, because I may have been in full employment. What happens? Dr. Breya? Well, we seem to have lost him. But that question to you.
Yeah, that question is that is why the law itself makes special reasons why you can be exempted. Now, it is the board that you write to, you apply to, and they will give them reasons why I should not be seen to be doing national service.
So let me ask you.
And they will give
Could she have written to the board and then she would have been given an exemption?
If she had written, the board, it's not automatic. They will have to sit down and analyze it and say, we have accepted that you will not do national service. That's why I'm saying quickly, they think that the acting, somebody who has not even been confirmed, his acting national service, has given, when the board is non-existent, it's weird in my, the board is non-existent, so how did you get the exemption? It's weird.
Perhaps the Minister of Education can act in that stead.
The Minister of Education.
The custodian of...
No, the job has been specified. Where the law says somebody, there's a specific remedy, how things should be done, that is how it has to be done. That's why I'm surprised. You see, in as much as for political expediency, yes, it is good. I have the power, the political power to do it. But upon hindsight, there are things you realize that we have done and we are wrong. And people will not forgive you. For me, it's if somebody drags her to court now, she will never hold herself as a public officer until this matter is determined. What had happened to her? We now have to start on the wrong footing. And there are few things that is being done. So that's why I'm a little bit disappointed. When they tout that we know the law, we will go by the law, and they are using political convenience to do other things. I don't think it is right.
I wanted us to discuss the boundary dispute with Cote d'Ivoire and Akoto, but I think our time is up. It's a huge issue. So.
Oh, it's a huge issue. I think that I know the team that has been put up, they will do their best, and they've been doing their best behind the scenes. And looking at the panel, what we're given, that we could continue, it gives us some signals that at the end of the day, we may have our day in court. And I'm sure they would also look at it, looking at the boundary disputes already where there had been an existing landmark between the two countries that we have agreed on that. I'm sure they'll look at it, and I believe that we should have it. If it goes the other way, it will be very difficult time for us as Ghanaians. Yeah.
Because of our investment in oil finds.
Yes, and I also believe that there could be also some kind of political settlements, in as much as now the president has very good relationship with Alassane Ouattara. I think something behind the scenes can also be put in place to look at this issue. No, you can have a good judgment in your favor, but it never brings reconciliation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, true. You're speaking like a lawyer. Did you follow the Appointments Committee's proceedings with Isaac Isiama, who is a sports minister nominee or designate?
Yes, I listen on radio.
He looked like somebody who would be a very good sports minister. His responses were apt.
Oh no, I think he was apt. He spoke what, you could see he was honest as to what he knows and what he was saying, what he has experienced, being on the ranking member on the sports and the youth committee. I think the only disagreement between him and the former sports minister as to the budget, that's the only issue that I think we need to come clear on it. Let the nation know. The last thing for me is that the kind of trust, the kind of the cheer or
the enthusiasm
that the Ghanaians had in Black Star is gone, it's waned.
Yeah, you can see from this tournament that
it is for him to be able to rally people around that. Let's give them, or the Black Star, I think one of the things they need to do is to go around this nation and tell the whole populace that we are sorry for what had happened. Let's start on a clean note.
Victor Kojoga Adawudu is a legal practitioner, and he's joined us this morning. We've discussed great issues, and we have to say thank you for joining us. Will you be going to court today?
Definitely. Oh. It's always a pleasure to be here.
You see, yeah? All right, so we're taking a break. When we come back, we'll have great discussions on the show. Do stay on.